So let's pick up from where we left off actually sort of 2 days ago. The last thing we saw was the Ramah. We're coming to the end of the Ramah in Seif Aleph. Okay? Kuf Tesvav Seif Aleph. We're coming to the end of the Ramah. And here the Ramah says as follows. The final halacha here is Cholav Shal Goyim Shene Esra. If you have a situation of Cholav Stam, Cholav Akum, which became Asr. In other words, you ended up with some Cholav that the end of Ramah in Seif Aleph. Yes? So, you have some Cholav Stam, and it's Asr. And then you have an idea. Maybe I'll take this Cholav and I'll use it and make butter or cheese, because I know that you can't make cheese from Cholav Tamei. The Gemara says that. So I know. So I've got this thing which is Cholav Stam, and I'll turn it into cheese, and that would be mutter. What do you think? Says the Ramah, Einoi moyel im yasu achakach gevinois oichema mimena. It's selfish. It won't help you. Once it's asur, it's asur. Ela nish'ara be'isura v'chol ma shenasa mimena asur. Yes? You got the place? Okay, let's try again, guys. This is the Ramah at the end of Seif Aleph. Here. You got it?
Yeah.
Yofi. Okay. Now, what's the Makayr? So the Gorn says it's based on the Gemara. We'll see. But here's something interesting. I want to point something out interesting to you. One of the issues we're going to have to tackle, which we have not yet done in a structured way, is to understand the Gzeira of Cholav Akum. How strong is it? In other words, is it what we call a Gzeira of a Dover Shebeminyan? There is a level of Gzeira where Chazal forbade things, and if it's a proper, what's called a Dover Shebeminyan, then even if the reason is no longer relevant, it doesn't matter. Bottle hatam, but low bottle Gzeira. The Gzeira remains in place. So, does Cholav Stam or Cholav Akum fit into that category? Nafkamina, be very big nafkaminas. The nafkamina will be if the reason is because we are worried that the goy will put milk from a camel into it, and that is the opinion of Roiv, Rishonim and Achroinim, Lahalocha, the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah, Shaloika Rabbeinu Tam, Shaloika HaYerushalmi. There, they say that reason is because of Gilui, because we're worried there's a bit of poison from a snake might have come in it and it's uncovered. But we don't paskin like that, pashtus, right? Roiv, Rishonim, and Achroinim learn that, including the Shulchan Aruch, the Torah, etc., that the reason is we are a chashash shema'irav by cholav tamei. The chashash is that there's a bit of milk in it which from... So what would be in a situation where there's no cholav tamei? So the Gemara discusses... Now, this can be at different levels. The Gemara discusses a case of whether is there a davar tomei be'edroi? Does this farmer have horses and camels? Or maybe he doesn't have horses and camels, but 5 kilometers down the road, there's a bunch of other farms they do have. How far does it go? Okay? So this is going to be very relevant. And I'm going to read you out now a very interesting, quite a well-known opinion, but I want to read you out actually his Lashon, and the Lashon is as follows. Hello.
Hello,
morning. This is the opinion of you don't have it. This is I'll give you some quotes from it later. I'm going to change the source sheet. I'm going to do it a bit differently. The Pri Chodosh. Okay? So, the Pri Chodosh lived in sort of 1670s, roundabout, give or take. And he writes as follows. Based on the Radvaz, based on the Chuvas Radvaz, he writes, now this is I would call it Mamash Das Yochid, but it's definitely not the standard opinion, and we definitely don't paskin like this. Says the Pri Chodosh, Motzasi l'Radvaz, Haklal ha'oile, says the Pri Chodosh, De be'ir shaloi nimtza sham cholav tamei. In a city, in a place, in a locale, umgebung, where there is no cholav tamei, Oi, shehu yoseh b'yoker micholav tahir, or it is significantly more expensive than cow's milk. Mutter liknois meha akum cholav shecholvoi below re'iyas Yisrael klau. then there is no concern. He obviously was of the opinion that the Gezeira of Cholav Akum was not a Dover Shebeminyan, and therefore it's only based on the reason, on the tam, and if the reason for some reason is no longer valid, Cholav,
no, you mentioned something, you say tam?
No. Okay, let me start again. Tam means the reason of the Gezeira.
Yes.
The reason of the Gezeira was to be ma'arev, there was a chashash to be ma'arev cholav tomei. But, says the Pri Chadash, in a situation where there is no real chashash that he will be ma'arev cholav tomei because A, there is none round here, and number two, it's more expensive. It makes no sense. Why would I do such a thing? Therefore, says the Pri Chadash, based on the Radvaz, and he isn't the only opinion, there is one opinion, as far as I'm aware, I've only been able to come across one opinion in the Rishonim. It's a relatively late Rishon, the Rashbash, who was the son of the Tashbats. He was a Rav in Algiers, but it was a Chosheva Posek, the Rashbash. Yeah, it was a Rishon, so he is a Rishon, a very well-known son of the Tashbats. Yeah, so He says the same thing again, also, that it's all based on the chashash, that maybe there's cholav tamei, and if I know for a fact there's no cholav tamei, then you don't need to, then you can go and have the milk, no problem. That's how he paskins. And the Pri Chadash then writes as follows, listen to this lashon, just because I think you'll find this interesting. I certainly did. He said, V'chein motzasi haminig poshut poi Amsterdam. He was in Pri Chadash was in Amsterdam, and he said, this is the minhag in Amsterdam. In Amsterdam there is no real chashash of camel's milk or, I don't know, some other cholav tamei, and presumably there's a price differential, and therefore there's no real chashash, and everybody drinks it. V'chein nohagti ani gamkein. And I also, says the Pri Chadash, I also drink this milk. Zulas das ktsas yichidim an izhorim b'zeh. Besides for some individuals who are machmir. Now, I should point out that this Pri Chadash is certainly not the consensus. It's definitely not the consensus. Now let's go back to our Ramah. We were learning. Sorry?
It was in Amsterdam.
Yeah. It's not the consensus of Poskim. Certainly not.
Okay, no, okay.
Rabbeinu Tam is from France. They are well known with the.
Don't start with Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam was makel for different reasons, but that's another story. Because Rabbeinu Tam held the whole Issa was Giloi, because we're worried of Sakana. But if there's no problem of Giloi, then it would be Mutter. And Rabbeinu Tam was matter people to have cheese based on that.
It's France. It's hard to.
Rabbeinu Tam was not swayed by pressure from the, I'm sure. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, we'll say that. Let's go back to the Ramah. We're doing the last bit of Ramah in Seif Aleph. Okay? So, the Ramah says, Cholav shel goyim shenesra. What would be if you have Cholav stam, which is Asa, and you have, oh boy, I've got a problem. It's real Cholav stam. I need to get out of this problem. I have an idea. I will make cheese out of it, because I know from the Gemara that cheese, Davar Tomei won't be mamid. Says the Ramah, you can't do that, because once it's Asa, it's Asa. As I pass on the Ramah. Now, says the Shach, there's a fascinating Shach here I'd like us to look at. Seif Cotton Yud Ches. Everybody got the Shach? Yud Ches. Yeah?
I didn't have I only have the one sheet from Shulchan Aruch.
Well, we had it today. Okay, I'll give you another one. Please don't lose this one.
No, I didn't lose it. I didn't get it.
We did it too. That's what we used 2 days ago. That's what we used. Oh, you didn't have it. Well, you should ask me. I'll give you one.
I didn't want to.
No, please. You've got to be with it. Now, please. Yeah, let's keep that one. Let's go. Shach Sifkotten Yud Ches. Shach Sifkotten Yud Ches. Find it. It's the last from on Seif Aleph.
Yeah, you go.
Top of the page, Chav Zayin there.
Yeah, got it.
Good, let's go. Says the Shach. Eino moil. The Ramah says it won't help to turn it into cheese. Says the Shach. Davka bestam cholav. When is this halacha that if I end up with cholav stam that I have a problem and it doesn't help to use it to turn it into cheese because it's already becomes osur? It's a chefza disura. Whether it's chanan or not, by the way, whether we say chanan on cholav stam is a fascinating machlekas. But I mentioned it for you because you guys have been learning chanan. So there's a machlekas. But davka bistam cholav says the shacha kula avol K'sha'anu yoidim shadas ha'ovid kechavim hoya lasos gevinois mehacholav. But when we knew that the farmer was milking this milk, why? Because he was going to make cheese. We know he was going to make cheese, then it's different. Mutter li Yisrael lasos achakach mimeno gevinois. Says the Shach. You show up on the farm, you know for a fact, how you know is an interesting question, but you know that he was going to make this milk production is for cheese, and you weren't there, you didn't see it. Now, we have to just remember this. Remember this because we're going to have to come back to this, okay? And make sure that we've got all the connections properly. We're going to learn something in a minute. But says the Shach, given that we are going to learn a halacha in the Ramah in Seif Beis soon, that when milk is done for the purposes of cheese, it is different because there is no incentive, as we discussed, to put camel's milk into a cheese production because it won't work. It won't be mamid. It doesn't become cheese. So there's no point in that, as we're going to see in the Ramah. Therefore, this halacha here, that when you have chalav stam, you got to throw it away, says the Shach. Hold on, not so simple. It might be okay because if you know that this was milked for the purposes of cheese production, then it's mutter li Yisrael lasos achakach mimeno gevinois. It is mutter for the Jew then now to take this milk. Remember, I didn't see the milking of this milk. I wasn't there. You can take this and make cheese from it. Kamoi shekosov lekamon b'Seif Beis, as we're going to see in Seif Beis. Now this, you need to know, is a big chiddush. Just remember this Shach. We've got this Ramah. The Ramah says, I have milk, which is chalav stam. I'm stuck. Says the Shach, whoa, not so fast. You might not be stuck, because if this was milked for the purposes of cheese, you would be allowed to take it lechatchila and make cheese out of it.
Specifically only to make cheese of it?
Only to make cheese. If it was legabein, he milked it in order to make cheese. Remember this Shach.
The question is, can you now, if it's mutter to make cheese out of it?
No, it had to be milked. It says mafurish, and we're going to see in the Ramah soon.
It had to be milked for that
It
purpose.
was milked for that purpose, correct.
So can you now, in hindsight, you know what, I'm not going to make cheese, I'm going to just drink it like that?
Why should that be a problem?
Good question.
Why should that
Good question. Good question.
You also have the test of the cheese on top of that.
Good question. I think not. I think you're not allowed to, and I saw it in some of the poskim. Let's see. It's definitely mashma. The only thing you can do with it now is take it and make cheese out of it. Avi's asking, could you take it and drink it now? I think not.
Why not?
Because it's only the only thing you're allowed to do with it now is make. We're going to see. Let's wait until we see in Seif Beis.
The cheese is the indication.
But it can't be a lechatchila process if it's possibly forbidden milk not to drink.
Rov poskim, as far as I remember. Hold on a second. I hear what you're saying. Gabi's asking a svara. He's asking a good svara. If it's either the milk is mutter, or it's not mutter.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be lechatchila.
Either it's mutter. So is it lechatchila or not? That's what we're going. I use the word lechatchila very carefully because it's going to depend on a machlokas Taz and Shach, which we'll go hopefully still learn today in Seif Beis.
All the idea that you're allowed to make cheese out of this milk.
Yes.
Is that this will give the indication that the milk is tahor tameh.
Correct.
So you definitely cannot drink the milk.
Why?
Because when you drink the milk, you still don't have the indication.
Okay.
You need
Nice
to
svara.
wait to make the cheese. So
Maybe.
you don't see the
Okay.
difference. If it works, it means it's. Can you understand?
So you mean-
If you view the cheese making as a test for the milk.
That's right. Yeah, it might be. Yeah. Good point. So let's see. All of this needs to become clear. Very good. I'm good. I'm glad you're coming out with a lomdus here. Now let's start Seif Beis. So Seif Aleph, which we've learned already, was basically the halacha of milk. Seif Beis is cheese. Seif Gimel is butter. Okay, there's 3 seifim in this simon. Milk, cheese, butter. Okay. Now let's learn Seif Beis. Gvinas hagoyim osruha, says the Shulchan Aruch. The Mishnah says that the cheese of Gentiles is forbidden. Mipnei shema'amidim oisa ba'oir kevas shchitosam shehi nevela. This is the standard reason, even though, as I showed you, there are up to 8 different reasons in the sugyas. If you look around as you go through from Daf Chavtes to Daf Lamed Hey Lamed Vav in Avodah Zarah, Shmuel. There's all sorts of different reasons, but the standard reason which the Shulchan Aruch and most poskim are going along with is the classic one that because they use oir behema tmeah, they take a bit of rennet and they're mamid the milk in order to make cheese. That is how they do it, and it's a mamid. Davar hama'amid, which is how we got into this whole sugya, and davar hama'amid is also. And therefore, even if it's bittul, even if it's a tiny amount, it doesn't make a difference. Davar hama'amid afilu be'elef loy bottle. And that's why Chazal forbade it. Finished. Now, va'afilu he'emiduha ba'asavim asura. Even if this cheese was, there's no rennet. It's vegan. Yeah? It was not, they did not use any, for a fact, it's still asa. Hamidu ba'asavim, it doesn't make a difference. There's no difference, okay? As we pointed out, there is a difference.
What you can do from the herbs?
They can make as a mamid. Instead of putting in the rennet, the bit of the animal kevas behemah to make it as an enzyme. It works. I don't know or care. Yes, it does.
So we're saying because the herbs are from the goyim, it's a problem.
Doesn't matter who owns the herbs. It's cheese. It's cheese of a Gentile.
Because
it is gvinas akum.
The process of making it the cheese is me'asa. Because here it says if it's asavim without any origin from the rennet of an animal, then what's the chashash?
It's no chashash. It's a gzeira. Even if it's a gzeira, and this is the point that even those who argue on the gzeira of how far chalav goes, but everybody agrees that cheese is stricter than chalav.
Yeah.
But the lashon, remember I pointed out to you, the lashon of the Mishnah when they talk about milk is chalav shechalvai akum ve'ein Yisrael royehu asura. The problem is that I don't see what's going on. So with a gvina, the lashon is gvinas akum is asura.
That's why the cottage cheese doesn't have the din of gvina, and that's why we don't apply the gezerah if it's made of asavim. Possibly because it was never included in. It wasn't. Cheese. Well, it is. Well, it depends how you. Halachically, it's not cheese.
I'm not sure whether the point is halachically it's not cheese. What is it then? What is it? If it isn't cheese, what is it?
It's just a
meat. What is it?
It's a milk product.
A milk product.
Like yogurt.
Okay.
But you know
I think. Yeah, but I don't think there would be any shaila. I'm not.
Because I thought here it seems because it's cheese.
Yeah.
As long as it's cheese and there's any mamid, we apply the gezerah of cheese is more chamor than challah.
So you've got two ways around it. You could either say, like you're saying, it's not cheese. I'm not sure that is the only approach.
I think we learned it with Rabbanon. There was that it doesn't have the din of vina.
It definitely doesn't have the din. The question is, but it wasn't included in the gezerah. In other words, according to Rav Moshe, what Rav Moshe said was, I don't think that's why I'm not mad on that definition. Everybody agrees it's cheese. Chazal don't hide their head in the sand and say this is not cheese. Everybody knows cottage cheese is cheese, but Chazal made a gezerah of gvinas akum, and by the way, some of those who are machmir use the exact opposite of your svara, and they say, I don't care, it's gvina, it is cheese. You can't stand in your, that is the svara of some of the machmirim. But we're talking now about the svara, let's say, of the makilim you brought in cottage cheese. So Rav Moshe says, that's because, how did the gezerah come about? Because there are types of cheeses that generally one makes them with rennet. On there we say, if it is a type of cheese which you make with rennet, and it just so happens you made this particular one with asavim, lo plug. There we say it makes no difference because that's what it is. But acid set cheese, there are two types of cheeses. There is acid set cheese and rennet set cheese. What we call soft and hard cheese. That's what it means. So the vote is not that it wasn't gevina, I think, although there are some that say that, but rather it could never have been included in the gezerah, because the gezerah is that you're mamid b'chalav tomei, b'davar tomei. But they were never ever, nobody was ever, because it actually won't work. If you want soft cheese, don't put rennet in it, because you'll end up with hard cheese. Right. So that was kind of the sorrow. Beseda.
It's very simple. I mean,
I'm so glad you think it's one of the most complicated sugyas. I'm really glad you think it's simple.
No, but in here it's very simple. If ישראל לא ראה את הגוי איך העמדה מתבצעת,
זה לא כתוב. זה לא כתוב. סליחה, אדוני. What Guy is saying, I'm glad you said that because it really brings out the whole thing. It's very clear that in the sugya of Seif Aleph, of Cholov, the sugya is, did I see it? Did I see it to know what's going on? That's the sugya. In Seif Beis, it's not so clear that is the sugya. Gvinas akum asura.
Okay.
You see it, you don't see it, לא אכפת לי. Gvinas akum is asura.
לא, איפה חשוב שאם לא ראיתי?
מה?
אם ראיתי?
לא כתוב, בינתיים. Where we're up to, you're making an assumption. I just want to point out to you, making an assumption.
Okay.
Gvinas akum is asura, full stop. Why? Because generally you're mamid it ba'ir keva. And even if this Gentile was mamid ba'ir asavi, and even if I know that he did, doesn't seem to make a difference. It's also. Hagar. V'chein haminig. In other words, this gezerah is a much stronger and stricter gezerah. That's clear. Probably a davar shebeminyan, we'll see. Let's go weiter. Let's see. Bonire. V'chein haminig. Says the Ramah, V'ein lifroitz geder im loy b'mokim shenagu b'em heta mekadmoinim. Do not be pirates geder. Now, there are places, Narvona, we saw the Gaon in Narvona, Rabbeinu Tam. There were some places that had a tradition based on other Rishonim who disagreed with this reason, and they said it was all to do with Gilui, and therefore if you know that there's no Gilui, it's fine. So, if you live in a place where they've had an ongoing tradition from Rishonim that is the pshat, then you're okay. Otherwise, I'm afraid, we paskin, the main shaila is being Mamid b'kevas nevela and ein lifroitz geder. Now, guy, now the fun starts. You ready? Says the Ramah, ve'im ha'Yisrael royeh asiyas hagvino v'hachaliva muta. If he sees the asiyas hagvinois v'hachaliva muta, v'chein haminag poshut b'chol medinos elu. If I see the milking and the making of the cheese, then it's mutter. Then it's not gvinas akum. Now, we need to understand why that's not gvinas akum. Is it not gvinas akum? Do I have to purchase it? We'll come back to that. We'll talk about kinyonim and whether is he being machlevit for you, or is this just his? Let's learn it at the moment kipshutai. Okay? And it looks like what you said, Guy, that if you see the milking and the making of the cheese, then it's mutter. Right? Then it's mutter. The problem is when I don't know. V'chein haminig pashut b'chol medinos elu. That's the first halacha. We'll come back to that. Okay? What would be the second halacha in between? And this is the one that really got us, I think, interested and into this sugya. Ve'im ra'a asiyas hagvinois v'loy ra'a hachaliva. What happens? I saw the making of the cheese, but I didn't see the milking. So I saw the cheese being made. I know there's no keva, but I didn't see the milking. I arrived and the milking has already gone. That's what the Ramah paskins.
It sounds like the test for the milk, like being successful.
So that goes back, does it not, seems to be, and that's why the Ramah references this. Cholav of an akum, which is asur, remains asur. Whatever you do, once it's asur, it's asur. Says the Shach, hold on a second. I have a Ramah here that tells me that b'diavad is mutter. Yeah. But that's, now you could learn, how is it not a contradiction between these two Ramahs? Let's just do this ourselves. Come on. I have one Ramah here which says, if you have milk, which the Gentile was machliv, and I didn't see it, I'm now stuck. I come along, well, let's work this out. He doesn't say, I'm sorry. This Ramah just says, you are stuck. That seems to me to say, there's nothing you can do. You're stuck. Ramah, before we get to the Shach, leave the Shach out for the moment. Nachon. And then I have a Ramah over the page, and what does this Ramah say? I came along to a cheese production, I slept in, whatever, I arrived late, and I saw the making of the cheese, but I didn't see the chaliva.
It's not a steer, because he made it to do the cheese.
What's the halacha?
B'di'evet, okay.
Lahate b'di'evet. B'di'evet, you can...
Yeah.
Now, I think there's a very simple way to make sure that these, before we get to any complications, how do these two Ramahs fit together? How do you understand them?
What do you mean? One is too, because the guy himself wanted to make cheese, so therefore he probably did not mix in anything forbidden.
Whereas here,
It's just some chaliba,
okay,
some milking, some milk for any purpose.
okay.
That's exactly the halacha.
I think that's. I'm not sure why we even need to be that complicated. You may be right according to the Shach, but to me, I would just say, B'diavad, these are different cases. Over here, I stop at the milk stage and I go and ask a shaila. I have milk here.
Yeah.
Rabbi, what do I do? Sorry, there's nothing you can do.
It's just like.
Whereas here, I now have cheese. I have cheese. There you have milk. There you. Before we get Lomdish, Rabbi Isai, and it's very good that you're such lamdonim. But I think we didn't never forget to learn. Just look at the words on the page and look at the case. What is the case? The case in Sif Beis is a different case. The case in Sif Beis is I have some milk. This milk is chalav stam. Says the Ramah, you're stuck. Punkt. That's where I'm at. Finished. Nigmar. Nigmar. Finished. I'm done. Whereas over here, I observed cheese making. I now have cheese. And my shaila is now, can I eat this cheese or not? There is shaila, can I have the milk? Here's, can I eat the cheese? You see that, Avi? It's just very, very simple. You're too lomdish.
It's another stage.
Yeah, it's a different case. It's a different case.
That's what I'm saying, it's a different case, yeah.
Yeah, but you forget intention. You was talking about the shach, and intention to make cheese doesn't need to come into it. These are two different realities. One is I have milk, the other one is I have cheese.
Can I ask, the Rav said he's going to mention it somewhere how to make kosher cheese, because...
Well, of course we're going to get to that, obviously. Yeah, we have to come to that. That is where we're going to. How do you make cheese kosher? That's exactly that's the purpose of this exercise. We'll see what you need to do. So, here the Ramah says, you don't need to worry that he's putting something tomei into the milk. Why? Because you're there for cheese production. Therefore, you know that the purpose of the milking was for cheese. Right? There's no question about that. That's why you're there. There's no svara that he would have put in.
It's intention.
Yeah. Because that was clearly his intention to make gvinois.
You ask about
There you go, it's mafurash. Umikol malkaim, you still can't have the...
Just because.
you can't drink the milk, so it's mafurash. So now let's review. What have we got so far? Let's review.
It's a milk that the Israel was not...
He didn't see it.
Yes, of course. It's the
like
same
we
milk
had in...
You're allowed to go to another stage to try to produce a cheese.
Yeah.
But the chalav remains asur.
The chalav remains asur.
Yeah.
The chalav remains asur. In this case, when you've got cheese, but the evad, you can eat the cheese. So that's just the simple... That's before we start with any further machlekas. Yes? Now the fun will start. Okay, Rabbi Isai. There are two...
But it sounds like if we say that he can't drink, he is at the milk stage, and it's mutter for him to make cheese out of it, right?
Who says that?
The Israel.
Sorry?
In the case where we said, if he...
It's also of him to make cheese out of it.
No, in the other case, where it's mutter.
Sorry. Which case? Sif Beis or Sif Aleph? There's two Ramahs.
We had...
The Ramah in the end of Sif Aleph we saw is when you have chalav stam and you want to know, Rabbi, can I make cheese out of it?
Right.
Or, at the Ramah at the end of here, can I drink it? No, you can't. But Sif Beis, the case is where you have cheese, but you only saw part of the process. You saw the cheese, you didn't see the milking. Then, b'di'evad, you can eat the cheese.
Even before making the cheese, you can permit the making of the cheese.
So was the...
Rega, you're cheating. You're really looking at the machlekes shach and taz. You're too lomdish. I'm doing this in stages. Avi's impatient. He wants to...
Because we said the person can make the cheese right at the end of Sif Aleph. But he cannot...
Well, no. Where did he say he can make cheese? Sorry, there was a shaf.
No. There was a shaf, sorry.
Yeah, this is why we need...
But we asked the question if the milk itself was mutter or not. That was our question here.
No, because it's chalav stam. The Israel was not there to see.
Right.
The chalav is verboten.
Right.
And the Ramah in the end of Sif Beis makes that very clear.
Okay, but the Ramah in Sif Beis says b'diavad.
B'diavad, you can eat the cheese.
cheese, not
the
the milk.
cheese, not the
I
milk.
understand, but
There is no milk anymore. The milk has been used for the cheese.
Right, but
You want to go back to the time where it was the milk, but there is no milk anymore. Now it's cheese.
Okay,
והוא אומר לך,
that's the same case. So the milk in the shach would be also asur.
I'm starting again. Maybe it was a mistake for me. Maybe I confused you
No,
guys with the shach. Let's start again. Let's do the Ramaz, and then let's work our way through the shach, because we're going to see that there are two sugyas here, 2 points lahalacha, which we want to talk about. One is that which Avi is very interested in, is how do you make kosher cheese? And that's going to be, we're going to see soon, a machlekes shach and Ramah. And then there's another machlekes here, and that is this Ramah that you can have the cheese b'di'eved, the cheese, but definitely not the milk, that you can have the cheese b'di'eved, and is itself a machlekes. So there's 2 different topics in halacha I would like to do. We're going to do, Avi, we're not doing yours first because we need to do it in order. We're going to discuss the Ramah. But simply put, before we get to the shach, Gabi, simply put, if I was just to learn these 2 Ramahs, I would be okay, because I would say Chalav Stam is something which is it's treif. Chalav Stam is treif. You can't have it. Rabbi, can I drink it? No, certainly not. Can I make cheese out of it? Afraid not. If you arrive and there's cheese made but you didn't see the milking, b'di'evad, you can have the cheese. That's so far so good. That's straightforward halacha.
Excuse me, the second question, if you could do the cheese and the Rav say no?
The Ramah would...
We said before
yes.
that if the akum or the goy
You could.
Plan to
that's the
cheese.
shach again. Atakofetz. Yeah, that was the shach. That's why you have to get this clear.
Yeah. Okay.
Guys, you always have to build up the halach and be clear who says what. Yeah, have that hold that in your head. Okay, we're now going to see.
Sorry.
No problem. We are now going to see let's do this Taz. On this Ramah, Taz Yud Aleph. Let's have a look at Taz Yud Aleph, please. Mm-hmm. So the Ramah here says, b'di'eved, you can have the cheese. B'di'eved. Yes?
Okay.
Says the Taz, Zeu das Rabbeinu Tam, shekosvu miktzas poiskim b'shmoi demati b'im yodua shehagoy choylev ligvina. So he says this Ramah is based on a Rabbeinu Tam, which is brought by the Beis Yosef, by the Mordechai, and etc. Aval loy b'choylev la'achila oy lekutach. But if the milk, it was milked for milk or for something else, it wouldn't help you. Upasak be'isav heta ha'aruch kavoseh. Fine. So we have, that is Rabbeinu Tam's opinion, and the Isav heta paskins like him. So the Rabbeinu, the Ramah paskins like him, but remember, he's not paskining like Rabbeinu Tam all the way. He says b'di'eved. It's b'di'eved. He wouldn't let you go and do it lechatchila, but it's b'di'eved. Fine. V'lo yoradati l'soif das Ramah. Frag the Taz, I don't understand this. Dohokra posak Beis Yosef v'Shulchan Aruch Rambam. The Beis Yosef already and the Shulchan Aruch paskin like the Rambam that what da'afilu hemidu b'vadai ba'asovim osur mishum loy plug. That if you made a cheese definitely out of organic material, the cheese remains also because of loy plug. Hachinami osur b'zeh kevan shaloi haya eitzel hachaliva. Question number 1 asks the Taz. There should be the same. Because I didn't see the milking, therefore it should remain osur. Anybody like to comment on this?
Yes.
Yes, please do.
In the moment that we did the cheese, the Israel was there, so we can trust the Israel that a goy didn't make some.
No, but if it was made out of asovim, it remains osur. Answer his question.
Israel is not there.
The Taz. What's the question of the Taz? Tell me, please, the question of the Taz on the Ramah. Mao Makshe. What's his question on the Ramah?
He said that the Ramah already mentioned
that what?
That if it's also with a savim, it's a sur.
Because of lo plug. That means even though I know it's kosher.
Yes.
I know it's kosher. Lo chvatli.
But that need to have a certain condition. If Israel was not there, if the Israel was not there, So then how can I trust the goy? He will show me a cheese. And now it's like a casino where I will bet. How do I know? How can I trust the goy? How he did this cheese? He did it with nevela.
Are you asking? So when it says that it's also ba'asovim, what's the issa is not because we don't trust him, it's because of lo plug. What does lo plug mean? Lo plug means cheese is cheese. We don't care whether it's glat kosher. Doesn't matter. Yes. Cheese, gvinas akum is also not because I don't believe him. No, that's what you're told.
So what's the problem with the savim?
Lo plug, it's a gzeira. Cheese, gvinas akum is asur. Because usually we are mamedit by Rennet, and therefore even if I know, how I know is a good question, but even if I don't have any reason to suspect that it's not a question of ne'emanut. That's your mistake.
You were not there.
It's not a question of ne'emanut. Even if I know somehow, if I wasn't there, it doesn't matter. Lo plug. Lo plug. Let's say, zum Beispiel, let's say the whole Medina only does. There's no davar tomei be'edroi, and doesn't matter. Gvinas akum asura, lo plug. Even if we're mamid it basavim. If I wasn't there, it's also. But it's not because I don't believe him.
But what is a gvinat akum? If the Israeli there is not a gvinat akum anymore. We have two cases. We have gvinat akum, means Israel is not there. And then, it doesn't matter if it's a nevela.
Okay. אבל זה לא מטעם נאמנות. אבל האיסור זה לא מטעם. צריכים להבין. אין לזה שום שייכות עם נאמנות. ברור שנאמנות מאוד חשוב. אבל בסוגיה הזאת...
אז it means that הסבים...
לא פלוג.
Okay, so it means that הסבים to make a cheese for Israel.
Yeah.
With הסבים it's mutar. If it's גזירה, so it's just a גזירה for the goy to make it with הסבים? Or it's also גזירה for Israel to make it with הסבים?
You can do whatever you like. ישראל מותר לעשות מה שהוא רוצה.
Okay, so what such a גזירה is that? Just that the goy is not doing that with הסבים?
גבינת עקום אסור. Full stop.
But this we know. It's not, we are not discussing about this. It's not this discussion. The discussion is why with הסבים it's
לא פלוג. לא פלוג. לא פלוג.
That's a plan.
לא פלוג. הגם שאני יודע שזה גלת כושר. לא פלוג.
And why?
לא פלוג, זה דבר שבמניין. אפילו בוטל, אין סברה. בוטל, זה פשט, if it's a דבר שבמניין, אפילו בוטל הטעם לא בטל הגזירה.
רגע, מה זה, גבינה זה דבר שבמניין?
לגבי, לדס הרבה פוסקים, כן.
אני לא יודע, all the time I buy it per kilo, I never buy like...
לא, not דבר שבמניין.
מה זה?
Yeah, he's got a different דבר שבמניין. לא, 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 לא. לא, 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 לא. Okay, let's go. No.
If it's a גזירה, if הסבים is a גזירה, why is that גזירה also for Israel? It's only גזירה for the goy?
Not for the goy, גבינת עקום אסורה. גבינת עקום, זה הגבינה שלו, שהוא עשה. זה לא שייך לי, אני לא קניתי את זה, אני לא עשיתי את זה, אני לא ראיתי את זה, אבל אפילו שאני יודע, אני עושה אנליזי כימאי וכו', there's nothing...
That's for sure, but now there is another case. The case is that in Sif Bet, we have a different picture that the Israel is there. The only problem that it was not evidence to see what was it with the milking. But if he's there, we don't speak about Gvinat Akum. Why are we speaking about Gvinat Akum?
So the Taz, very good. So the Taz is vergleicht the Gzeira of Cholov and Gvina. And he's asking a question. I think I finally understood what you're saying. That's a good point. The Taz is asking, from the plug that we make in Gvina, that it should be the same with Cholov. זה מה שהוא שואל. אבל על זה אפשר לתרץ that they're not the same. I said to you already, the Gzeira of Gvina Sakum is much stronger than the Gzeira of Cholov Stam. It's not a question, Bichlal. Look at the Shach on the side, Nukudat HaKesef. You know the Shach wrote, Yesh Lachem, Nukudat HaKesef, right? You guys are, no, but don't look anywhere else, on that page. On the side, left, go to the left, Nukudat HaKesef. Hiksha al Ramah, Kamo Diktukim Klushim. V'loi hirgish b'ma sheyesh lahakshes alav, k'misha kosavti b'shach sivkot m'chav. Says the Shach, Shvacha Maises. No, it's Shvacha questions, not strong questions at all. And I think this is the first question. I think this is your point. He's making a two-stel between the loy plug of Gvinas Hakum to Cholov. That's question number one. Question number two, V'su, do yavoy gam lahatir achilas hacholov, He says, I'm worried that it will come. You also we should be concerned that people will come to eat the cholav itself. Anyway, he goes through a few more questions. He goes through a couple of questions. I don't want to go through the whole thing. Go to nearly by the end. It's in the first wide bit, about sort of halfway down. Al nira lefian is daiti she'ein lahokel gam bozeh. That's the bit you should underline. The Taz, yeah. Here's where I've highlighted it here. Al nira, that's you should be highlight or underline. Al nira lefian is daiti she'ein lahokel gam bozeh. Ve'ein lahatir elem kein hoya Yisrael im hachaliva. So the Taz argues with the Ramah. The Ramah is mekel b'di'eved. The Taz argues. Taz machmir. Taz says no, it's not mutter. You can't have that cheese. The Shach. Here in the Shach in this seif, we're going to end up with one chumrah and one kula. Let's do the kula first. He paskins like the Ramah. Not only that, but we've seen this already. Go to Shach Chof Hei. Shach Chof Hei. The cheese is mutter, says the Shach. Why? Because it was the das of the goy. He milked it for the cheese. Shach Chof Hei. It's on the next page, just, at the end of Sif Beis. Shach Chof Hei, אמרתי.
אני יודע, אבל...
רגע. אדוני.
אני הייתי שם, אבל אני לא רואה חפי.
למה? הנה, זה פה. שח חפי. זוג the Shach. Me'acha shedatoi. Yes? Because it's mutter. Koloimar. Because his das was to make cheese, koloimar. Sheyodinon bevadai shedati lasses gvinos. V'chein mashma b'divrei apoiskim. V'isa b'tshuvas maram. Da'afilo hoyle dovet homa be'edro it's mutter b'di'eved. Mehai tam das ha'akum lahakpi ayin shom. What does that mean? Lakpi to make cheese.
Okay.
So what does it mean? Go back one more. Chav Daled, let's do Chav Daled as well. He says, since he made cheese, we should do this one as well. Since he made cheese, at the top of the page, same page, one up, top of the page, Me'acha she'asa, says the Shach, and this is a chiddush. Halosha eina mesukan. Da'afilu lo ya'asa gvina, elo shenechleva hacholov, mikri b'di eved. We learned the Ramah until now that the case was, and I said to you, you have cheese.
Yeah.
You have cheese. And that you can eat the cheese. Says the Shach, no. You have milk. But you know that the milk was done for the cheese. So even if you come and ask the Shaila at an earlier stage, all you've got is the milk.
That's already...
You can make cheese. That's called b'di'eved. B'di'eved means because it's been milked. You can go ahead and make cheese. The b'di'eved was, you should have been there. Rega, I know what you're asking. He's going to ask his old question back now. Yeah. We thought until now, I don't want to get the Ramah first, the Shach and the Ramah first clear. This is very important. Yes? We thought until now, if you read the Ramah, it would seem that at what stage do you come and ask the Shaila?
Hard cheese.
You got cheese already. Yeah. Now the Shaila is, here's the cheese production. So the Mashgiach calls up. What do you mean?
No Israel.
Because Ramah says, Asiyas hakvina v'chilei muta. The making.
Yes, lahata b'di'eved.
So it sounds to me like
Imra'a. No, but if Imra'a, as the case is Imra'a asiyas hagvinos v'leira'a hachaliva.
So the asiya will be muta.
Imra'a asiyas hagvinos. He saw the making of the cheese. In other words, what do I have here now? Cheese. So I have cheese, but I saw the making of the cheese, but I didn't see the making of the thing. Yes, lahata b'di'eved. Pashtus would mean you can have the cheese, but. Says the Ramah, says that the Shach is medayik, but because the gvina was made out of cholov, that the purpose of the milking was to make cheese, then the b'di'eved, what does he mean when he says yesh lahat b'di'eved? Even though the case he presents us with is a case when I have cheese. So you would think that it's only mutter when I have the cheese. But if I'd come a stage earlier, you would say, you would think not. You would think. So he says, because it was the pshat in the Ramah, which is based on the Issa v'heta, and he says the Lashon is unclear. Haloshen eina mesukon. But la halacha, the Shach gives us a big kula. Rega. So the Shach learns the pshat in the Ramah, is based on the Issa v'heta. B'di'eved means once it's already milked. Once it's milked, it's b'di'eved. I now have a problem. But I know it was milked for the purpose of cheese. And therefore, you can go ahead, lechatchila, and make the cheese. Yes, he argues with the Taz, clearly. Well, the Taz argues with the Ramah. The Taz is more machmir, so we have 3 opinions. So we end up with 3 opinions. You have the Taz, who's machmir b'diavad in all cases. You can't eat them, you never have the milk, never have the cheese.
Yeah.
You have the Ramah, well, depending on how you learn the Ramah definitely says, he argues with the Taz, but you can definitely eat the cheese. And the Shach says, pshat in the Ramah, that you can actually, once you've got the milk, you can go ahead and make the cheese lechatchila.
The pshat of the other Shach, no.
No, he's referring to that. That's what he means.
Taz understood the Ramah just like the Shach.
Sorry?
I think the Taz understood the Ramah like the Shach. That we're talking about a case where
sorry, which are you talking about? Ramah in Sif Aleph or Sif Beis?
No, here, this is base.
This is base. Yes. The Taz understood the
Ramah talking about a case.
Where do you see that? Where do you see that? And why does that? How does that help? He's more machmer even than the Ramah. However you learn the Ramah. The Taz says you've got milk here now. You're stuck. The Taz says the minute you have
Chalav stam, you cannot continue.
Yeah, I don't. First of all, I don't see. I'm not sure why it makes a difference. I don't see where you see in the Taz how he learnt the Ramah.
That's true. I don't see that.
Okay. Weiter, Rabbi Isai. Let's quick sikkum. We're getting into it, and that's right. Now you understand the Shach Yud Ches. Now let's go back. Thank you. The back in the Ramah in Sif Aleph says what? If I have cholav stam and I'm stuck. Oivei, I've got cholav stam. Well, can I do anything with it? Says the Ramah. No, you can't do anything with it. You're stuck. Says the Shach. Depends. If you know for a fact that this milk was milked in order to make cheese, go ahead and make cheese, and that's called lechatchila. These are the 2 Shachs go together, and so at least we have this little bit of the sugya clear. Tomorrow, in Yetz Hashem, we will learn a chumrah of the Shach. What is needed for something to be called Gvinas Yisrael, that we'll see tomorrow.